It's like Officer Tatum's career is changing right before our very eyes. And it's not happening gradually. It's happening in real time. 5 years ago, a guy like Officer Tatum was very, very popular in the conservative movement. I mean, he was still cool, at least to a certain part, with Charlie Kirk. He was doing his own thing and getting a lot of opportunities. But in 2025, it's like the climate has changed. A lot of his fan base have shifted from being pro-Israel to being pro-Palestine. And this is hard for Tatum because, number one, he's a black conservative that really criticizes the black community, so he could never return there. But at the same time, he's experiencing some problems that he has never seen in his career before. And a lot of people are noticing it.
Okay, if you happen to take a look at Tantrum's Twitter account, he is going off on Nick Fuentes and he's going off on like Charlie Kirk conspiracies, which are of course being spearheaded by Candace Owens. He's slowly coming to the realization that the Republican Party is filled with a bunch of racists.
Got him!
That is the Amazing Lucas YouTube channel. He's a very talented YouTuber who was at one point a very big time black conservative content creator. At the time, I believe he was neck and neck with Brandon Tatum. But what changed?
And I want people to understand that that has been the case for quite some time. That's where I said deuces, because they kept on talking about, black Chicago, black on black crime. And I was like, okay, you keep on bringing this up. What are you doing about, the crime rate there? How are you helping the black community? And they then respond with, lift yourself up by the bootstraps.
Come on now, dog.
The Amazing Lucas changed his position on the black conservative movement because he realized how much racism it was. And to be honest, it's really true. And to be fair, it is so much racism, especially when you start pissing people off. But this is what Brandon Tatum does. One of the reasons why he's been, so popular, he's been calling out blacks who also use the racism as somewhat of a crutch against white supremacy. And this happened recently with Sunny Hostin. Now, if you guys know, Sunny Hostin is an attorney who is currently on The View, and she complained about, some racism that was towards, her family and her son in an all-white neighborhood. And at this particular time, Brandon Tatum got an opportunity to respond, and he asked this question.
Face Pony Soldier on blast today. Explain this to me. If the white man is so bad, then why you live in the white community, Sonny?
Woo! And then he continues.
Why do you live in a white neighborhood if white people are so racist against your kids? Let's explain that to me. There's no presumption of innocence, as if white people are barbaric cavemen and they can't understand the value and dignity in another human being. That's what you're saying. You're saying inherently, if you live in a white neighborhood, that your kids are not safe because white people are so deranged in a multi-million-dollar house neighborhood that they can't determine an N-word versus a black kid jogging training for the Olympics.
Now, remember what Amazing Lucas said. The Amazing Lucas said that, listen, Brandon Tatum understands that Republicans are racist, but he won't admit it. But he will take the opportunity to defend them, even though Sunny Hostin is having this issue. Now, he says, listen, why would you live there if these people were racist? Your son is out here jogging, and you act like these whites don't know the difference between blacks versus the N-words. Now, guys, I don't really like that comparison. I kind of stay away from the blacks versus N-words because I think that most people, not everybody, but most people will paint everything that they don't understand with a broad brush. All right. For an example, if I'm in Poland and I'm with a Nigerian guy or a Zimbabwean guy, nobody's going to say, okay, well, that person's Zimbabwean, that person's Nigerian. They're going to paint you with a broad brush. All right. And this is why Brandon Tatum is going to have a problem with this argument, because he wants whites to see him in the same way that he's describing Sunny Hostin's son. See, in this particular situation, if her son is upstanding and he's jogging around his neighborhood, then he would just be a black man, right? But if he is something opposite of that, he is an N-word. But I honestly believe that many whites on the right, whether they want to admit it or not, paint all blacks with a broad brush, especially if you're a black person that doesn't do or behave in a way that they do not like. Fast forward. Now, as you know, Brandon Tatum has been very, very critical of your boy Nick Fuentes for a long time now. Nick Fuentes can go back and forth with him every now and then, but despite the fact that Brandon Tatum has a larger audience on YouTube, Nick Fuentes is more popular than Brandon Tatum. And this could not have been the case 4 years ago. A guy like Nick Fuentes may have even begged to be on a platform like Brandon Tatum or Officer Tatum, but Nick Fuentes has more reach. He's clipped more a lot. He's on the New York Times. And what this suggests is that at least part of Brandon Tatum's audience aligns with Nick Fuentes. And he's a guy on the extreme right. And this is hurtful for somebody like Brandon Tatum. This is hurtful for somebody like Candace Owens. Because again, to have a white supremacist, coming up, in the grassroots economy on social media, he's been landing big time podcasts with like Dinesh D'Souza. He's been on Candace Owens' podcast and Tucker Carlson. So this guy is legitimized now, all right? And a guy like Brandon Tatum, this hurts him because Nick Fuentes is the exact opposite of what Brandon Tatum stands for. Brandon Tatum stands for, equality, some level of parity between blacks and whites in the conservative movement. He's definitely for interracial marriages. I mean, his first kid is also mixed, and so he has a white wife. And Nick Fuentes is completely against that. And so when they're going back and forth online, this is what you're going to hear, especially when Nick Fuentes subscribers call into his show.
So. Go upper nigga 6 7 cent $20. Brandon Tatum got to be one of the biggest retards with his Israel stance. The guy had nothing to refute Myron. Myron hit him with fact after fact, and he had absolutely nothing other than a disagree, and that's not true. Spoiler, it was true. Dude sold out to Israel for 5 bands in a Snickers bar. Pretty sad. Stay safe, Nick.
Thank you, man. Yeah, dude, he's a that is a straight up that's just what he is. He does it for free. He goes, I don't take money from Israel. I don't take money. Oh, you do it for free then? Wow. Good boy. Wow. Good job, Ossifer. Ossifer, please. I can't breathe. Ossifer. Good job, Ossifer Tatum.
Woo! So he calls Brandon Tatum coon, okay? He called him a raccoon. He's not the only person to do this. Jake Shields did the same thing. This is crazy to call somebody this based off a political difference. But again, this is what you get with some of your white conservatives out there who will throw ad hominems. Again, I see Brandon Tatum calling names here and there, but typically, to his credit, I see him trying to deal with concepts more. And don't get me wrong, Nick Fuentes is not a dumb guy. He can deal with them, but he's also very petty. And so instead of just dealing with Brandon Tatum as a man and on merit, you have to throw a derogatory word out there like coon. But then listen to this.
That's your
Bro,
question?
sent $21. There's this guy called Officer Tatum, aka Officer Tatum. You should watch his 30 minutes crash to Nick Fuentes x Tucker Carlson interview. Lol, and his comments are filled with Zios who despise you.
Why would I? He's an idiot. Hey man, shit. Hey man, Tucker, them some ass. Hey man. Idiot. Brandon Tatum is an idiot. Dumbest person I've ever heard. He should get an education. Officer Tatum should get an education. He should learn how to read. So
Jim
why
Bob
would I
Langford
waste
sent
my
$25.
time?
What would JD have to do to get?
So here is Brandon Tatum being mocked by Nick Fuentes. And the way that he's being mocked is, to be honest, it's sad. Number one, Brandon Tatum has done a really good job, in my honest opinion, trying to improve as a public speaker. He's always been pretty good, but on his show every day, whether you like what he says or not, it is clear that he's trying to put together positions and framework that can stand. Now, not everybody can have framework that can stand, but he does make good points here and there. about certain things. And even if you are biased to what he's going to say, it is clear that he's trying to use, words within the framework that are professional for his audience. He doesn't really deal in slang. He doesn't really have a Pookie or Ray Ray expression in which he's trying to be hood. But notice that Nick Fuentes, whenever he has a problem with a black person, and no matter how much professionalism that this black person presents, he will do his very best to make them sound ignorant, as an ignorant thug or a Pookie, even if their tonation or diction when they're speaking, it's unlike that. And this is something that I feel is a problem, and Brandon has to really, really wake up. They're painting him as something that he's not. Now, is he a sellout? That's up for you to decide. But for me to say that he sounds like an uneducated thug, I mean, this is a guy that was a police officer. He went and graduated from the University of Arizona. He was there on an athletic scholarship from Fort Worth. So this guy is not a dummy, okay? Now, Tatum goes onto social media and he cries foul. He says, look at this little racist clown. This is why Charlie wouldn't take him seriously. His entire platform is what? Being a troll. He adds zero value, just complaining. Claims to be a Christian, yet he consistently talks like this. It's not a one-off, all right? And basically this is, Nick Fuentes making fun of Brandon Tatum, which I feel like the accent or the imitation itself was completely inaccurate. But this is what happens in the comment section. You're acting like you haven't been speaking outrageously ugly towards other people, and you are using the Christian excuse. The hypocrisy is bright as day. You both are the problem.
Woo!
Okay, that seems to be fair. Steven says he cooked you pretty hard and you're reacting in an unchristian way. Humor is a glimpse of truth on the boundary of good and evil. Truth is the body of Christ. Laughing at your own expense is Christian.
Boy, you don't sit your stupid ass down. Who the you think you is?
I don't get this because I don't think that imitation marked him at all. And again, this is what Nick Fuentes has done in the past. If you get somebody that's black, he'll immediately go into this sort of ghetto or what he perceives to be as a ghetto black accent or tonality, which this is like, a copy and paste for anybody who has a problem with that's black or black American, which again, if Brandon Tatum talked like that, it would make sense, but he does not. At this point, the amount you post about him makes you a fan. So now it's his problem. And notice this, what you're seeing. He cries out blatant racism, Tatum does, and now he's the person that's at fault. King Batterman says this is 33 seconds of a 2-hour show. He spends the majority of his time explaining his positions on recent events and breaking down news and events for people to understand what's going on. Using 33 seconds of a joke where you are the target to try and sabotage the entire show. Okay, so basically, Brandon Tatum is the culprit of what he's receiving, which I just don't get. He's racist only because he doesn't hold your anti-Christian views on Israel. Otherwise, he's not. So he's getting it from everybody, right? He nailed that impersonation though. I don't think so. And you guys indeed are racist for saying that. He's actually a pretty skilled orator and debater, bro. You're just mad the blank said your super secret word.
Woo!
He's imitating you, not a race, and that's what you sound like actually. He doesn't sound like that. Again, this is like these guys who are racist against blacks thinking that everybody sounds like that, and it's just not true. Brandon Tatum sounds very different. Different from me, different from any other blacks too. No fan of Nick, but at least he's not a retard. You say Charlie wouldn't take him seriously, but even though he admits to D'Souza that he's been fighting him for 6 years, apparently without success, so which is it? Come on, Brandon. Next thing you'll do is call him You sound just like every left smear, same silence, their irony is wild. You become the very thing you claim to fight. Ultimately, we have to understand that the black American architecture for the right is wanting. These guys are going to have to really develop outside of Turning Point USA money, outside of foreign interest money. I mean, these guys are never gonna get any respect. I see Brandon Tatum. I've never seen him do anything that was kind of disrespectful in person. He doesn't have any scandals. Seems to be a guy that's trying to, improve himself. And you know, I disagree with almost everything he teaches, but he doesn't deserve this. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy Oshay Duke Jackson back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all you do. Scratch the bell. We're out.